Hi everyone. Today I have my first ever guest from Saudi Arabia, so I'm really, really excited. And it's an honor to host you, Salman, on my podcast series today.
Honor is mine.
For those who don't know you, you are an entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience and a well-known investor in Saudi Arabia who's invested in multiple fast-growing startups in Saudi. Some of them actually are Resal, Trteeb, NearPay, Manigo, Barq. And these are just to name a very few, like a handful of startups that you've been involved with.
Yes.
So I would love to know more about your journey at Salla, which is Saudi's leading e-commerce platform. You've been there for almost 7 years, if I'm not wrong.
In Salla,
Yes.
we started it as a concept in 2015,
Wow.
but
Okay.
the first launch was in 2016 in January.
Mhm.
And actually, the business started from May 2018.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, from the revenue point
Mhm.
of view, so we launched our paid packages in May 2018. So that's 5 years, and then 2 more years before in a free zone.
Right. Okay.
Where
Nice.
we were building the market fit, what we call.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I would love to know, like, is this your first startup that you started on your own, or have you had other entrepreneurial ventures before Salla? How has that journey been for you?
The business mindset is was already there
Mhm.
since ever, maybe. And we had a couple of activities, but not into like entrepreneurial journey, something in regular traditional business, like establishing an IT company, providing
Right.
services in infrastructure and other things. I think the first entrepreneurial activity, what I can say, that was in 2010,
Wow.
and then it followed with several other tries.
Mhm.
And just before Salla, I had one of the major entrepreneurial contribution, and then Salla.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has the journey been for you? Like starting Salla and then, considering the ecosystem was so different back then and where it is right now. Maybe you can share
Yeah,
on how has that been for
it's
you?
yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a big change into the ecosystem, into the what we can call like the all components,
Mhm.
every aspect of the entrepreneurial journey. Completely different thing. Even though from the regulation side, from the governmental side,
Right.
there was no much support, and a lot of changes happened since we started Salla. The concept wasn't there in the ecosystem.
Mhm.
So those tries, most of them we even cannot measure where did they reach, what was their level
Right.
when we decided to drop them and
Mhm.
jump to another idea. Was it correct or not correct? Because no benchmark was there, no regular VCs or venture investors or angel investors. No much of such things were there. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of growth, if you can also share like how has it been in terms of like, growing the team and also growing the company. Feel free to share some stats as well if you want to.
Okay. The idea, let's say from the MVP launch was
Mhm.
in January 2016.
Right.
The pivot came to maybe the quarter 4 of 2016. So we started as two co-founders, two tech co-founders, and
Right.
two employees, one software developer, one a designer, a content designer.
Mhm.
Uh, so we carried on. We added a fifth member as a mobile app developer at late in 2016. And when we did the pivot, it happened like the growth of the sale of the merchants started going on. Maybe within 7 months, maybe they reached first million Riyal sales as a GMV. At that time, the platform was free.
Mhm.
And then that was in March 2017. So
Right.
after 1 year, in March 2018, the growth was like they were selling for 1 million Saudi riyals every month and more. And then after one more year, so I did benchmark the March achievement. So every month in March, I calculate what's happening in the platform, and then I used to write a tweet about that. And
Right.
last
Oh,
year we
wow.
had that, and then this year we had this. So in 2019, they used to sell for more than 1 million Saudi riyal weekly. And in 2020, just right before the COVID and the lockdown and everything, they had 500 million Saudi riyal sales in total GMV.
Right.
And the team growth between these years, like 2017, we became like 7 members. 18, maybe 10. And yes, we secured a pre-seed round in 2018. And also we launched our paid packages in May 2018. And we were about 10 members. And in 2019, we became maybe 25 to 30 members, depending on the start of the year till the end of the year.
Yes.
And very early, couple of months in 2020, we became like 100 plus members. And I think the rest of 2020 is just like the growth happened in the GMV. Like in March 2020, they had 500 million Saudi riyal sale as GMV, and the rest of 2020 they made maybe 2.5 billion Saudi riyal sales. The same thing happened to Salla team. It became 2x and more. So we became 200 plus members at the end of 2020. And 2021, let's say today they have more than 500 million Saudi riyal sales monthly.
Wow.
And the team is 400 plus. So both sides, the growth was going smoothly and very unpredictably.
Yeah. But that is super inspiring for me to even hear, like, having that sort of a GMV, and then the team is also, like doubling pretty much in the last 2 years at least. That is amazing. But I would love to know, like, what has been your challenges as a founder? Because considering you've had to make many different decisions along the way, right? Hiring your team, when do you add the paid packages? When do you, expand to other markets? So how has that journey been for you in terms of challenges and learnings as well?
Yes, the challenges were a very crucial part of our journey. And I think without challenges, the innovation goes down. So we kept the innovation, we kept the challenges, we carried on doing the things. Earlier, maybe the recruitment was a major challenge, especially when we are building tech company, and we are building something that into the era of e-commerce, but we want it to be as general as any merchant or any concept of selling online could be adopted. So it was the first challenge was to acquire the right team. So we had, because we were also geeks, techs, and we knew how to hire, who to hire, what mindset do we need in our development team or tech team. That made the task even the challenge more challenging. Like is not any tech person we could accept. And I very much remember that in 2018, we built what we call a small puzzle test for developers in a dev platform. And we used to send the link of that puzzle to any applicant for the development function.
Wow.
And I remember that from the first almost 2,300 applicants, just one of them solved the puzzle. And one of them, we see that the effort he made and the mindset he built the coding based on is nice enough to acquire. So imagine that 1,000 and so applicants, 1,300 or something applicants, we took only 2 of them to hire. And before that puzzle and quiz goes live, we used to do the interview and check test the codes and check their previous projects. Most of the projects are not shareable. You know that when they do a project with some entity, they used to sign NDAs and so on. But we could check their previous projects and see what's their mindset and how they think, how they analyze the problem and try to solve it into the codes and so on. So that was the major challenge at early stages, to build the proper and right team with the mindset. And then we tried the different kind of scenarios in this area, like going outsourcing, going abroad, building IT units outside where it's cheaper and much caliber, much skills are there. And lots of our tries didn't work. So we end up like we have to bring them on board at our headquarters. So now we have maybe we can call it the largest software house in Western region in Saudi Arabia, which is headquartered in Mecca and a branch office in Jeddah. And yet we are trying to build now our business headquarters in Riyadh, not the tech one. So that was one of the major challenges, the recruitment. And a lot of other operation related challenges we did face. Let's see what's there. Maybe another question comes to.
Yes, but I would also really want to understand, considering the e-commerce landscape back, let's say in 2015 or 2016 in Saudi Arabia was very different than where it is right now. So how has that sort of mindset of the user changed with the inception of Salla, the execution of Salla, and so far the growth of Salla as well? So
this will lead me to the idea generation, how Salla came to our mind. Okay. In my previous startup, I was participating in an event for entrepreneurial activity called ArabNet. ArabNet in English. It was in Riyadh. It was its third or maybe fourth version of it. It was annually placed once a year. And there was a session talking about e-commerce over Instagram. And for me as a tech person, this thing didn't make sense because Instagram is a social media, is a communication platform. How you can do merchandising over it, how you can sell and buy. There is no tool, no component. And as a tech person, I know that in any CMS system, online, any content management system with an ability to provide what we call the product catalog, it requires a basket solution to make it e-commerce enabled. So a basket solution usually comes with the function of adding some components from this items or SKUs of the catalog of the products. I add them to the basket, which is softwarely built, something like virtual basket. And then I perform the logistic part of the e-commerce operation on this basket. And then I perform the payment process of it. So the basket is actually what happens in the e-commerce. And there was no basket solution in Instagram. So how these people can establish some session talking about e-commerce and Instagram.
Correct.
It didn't make sense to me, but at this session, everybody who attended the conference was inside the main hall, even though there were some side talks and nobody was attending. Even the people in the exhibition section,
Yep.
even the exhibitors themselves, the entrepreneurs and the investors and everybody was inside the main hall attending this session, which for me didn't make any sense. And so that was the landscape of e-commerce in Saudi Arabia. They didn't like the whatever tech solutions were there in the market, like WooCommerce, Magento, OpenCart, or even Shopify. They didn't like anything of that, which is well known and having all the requirements for any e-commerce practices. But they went to a social media platform, which is good as a catalog only. And they started performing e-commerce using the direct messaging or using the WhatsApp feature, which was completely separate. So you can find a mobile number in their profile and an ability to send them a direct message. So you either order using their direct messaging on their account on Instagram, or note the number by number, and add it to your notebook or to your mobile smartphone, save it under their name, and then open WhatsApp and message them. At that time, Instagram had no ability to log in multiple devices, neither WhatsApp. So it was very difficult to achieve such numbers, what those ladies were on the stage talking about. So there were 3 ladies. They had experience selling in Riyadh through their Instagram accounts. And every one of them had made something around 1 million Saudi Riyal in a year or something around a year. So I thought at that time, the spark was these people needs a support, needs a help of a basket solution. So Salla is an Arabic name of a basket.
Wow.
So that's the name came out from. So what we built was a mobile app. That was the first version of Salla, which was actually fitting into the landscape of the e-commerce at that time. So the Instagram is being used as an e-commerce where there is no any automation. So you do everything manually. So you chit chat. I want this product, this amount of, or this number of this size or this color or whatever in chatting.
Correct.
And then they send you the account number and you transfer the money, and you attach as a buyer, you attach the receipt of the transaction, and they go and check. And they say, okay, the money is received, and now we will start building whatever you want or customizing the product for you. And then they tell you, we will take this much time, these days to prepare your order. And then a person will achieve or try to reach you either from the direct messages of the merchant account on Instagram or through a WhatsApp, that your products are with me. I want you to share with me your location so I can bring the product to you. So this whole manual thing, we tried to automate it using Salla. So we provided literally a basket solution for Instagram platform.
Right.
When you as a buyer download Salla at that time, nothing will appear. It's just a black screen. Right. It's a listening app. It listens to your interaction with the merchant accounts on Instagram. So whenever you like a post on Instagram, which is defined by the merchant at Salla account, as his Salla account, that this is a product and it's a viable product. So the like will reflect into a pop-up coming from Salla, asking you to choose one of the features if they have been offering any features, or select a quantity and press add to basket. So it was auto impression, reflecting by the like of the Instagram. over a social media. And then you go with the Salla where a screen comes and you have to define your location. So an auto pricing will appear that the delivery will cost you this much.
Right.
And then you press next, and you will find all account numbers in different banks, or even if it's in one bank or more than one bank. You find the account numbers, and then you find a button, attach a transfer receipt. So you select an account number, a bank, and you go either on your mobile or go to the ATM machine or whatever, and make the transaction of the money and take a picture of the receipt and attach it to the order. So the order comes like wrapped up with the delivery location and the payment proof and everything. And once the merchant decide that this order is done, then he goes for the next stage. And all the merchants were very happy, amazingly dealing with Salla and trying to add more of their friends or more of other merchants who they know are on Instagram, and asking them to come join and feel the pleasure of automation of whatever you are trying to sell using Salla platform. So that was the landscape. They didn't like whatever solutions was there in the market, well-known, professionally built platforms, because they had their own experience, which was related to a simplicity of the Instagram.
Right. Yep.
And also the ordering, the simplicity of the ordering. So we completed their user experience by automating the ordering process.
Wow.
And yeah, that was the phase one of Salla.
That's amazing. I mean, for me, I can't even imagine like the amount of automation that you've done with Salla. It's amazing, because all the steps you manually told me right now, at least 7, were now seamlessly combined into basically just one, like a basket solution that you created.
Yes.
That's amazing. And I would really want to know, considering where Salla stands now in terms of the growth, where it does have economic impact in Saudi Arabia as well. It's a major player in the startup ecosystem over there, and is also building an international footprint. So I really want to know, what is your vision for Salla right now for the future?
Okay, we don't feel like we did cover the market landscapes in Saudi Arabia yet.
Okay.
So we have one vision of making Salla is the future of e-commerce, actually future of the commerce in general, including e-commerce, retailers, whatever is there. And to fulfill that, we will require to have actually go into expansion in different angles and different scenarios and different segments and different verticals.
Right.
We would like to go expand into the product and acquire more segments from the market. So till now we started serving what we can say micro merchants and then small merchants. We try to tap a little bit into the middle enterprises and acquire some sort of SMEs. So we are willing to go fully into the mid-level merchants, where very specific features they have required to be there available the platform. That's where we are expanding within the product.
Right.
And part of this have been launched a year and so back, which was the App Store, where any developers can come and build some solution targeting merchants, and the merchants can use their apps and pay them, and we share this revenue with them. And lots of them have built plenty solutions. Maybe 400 or some apps are already available in the marketplace of Salla. And many of them into different sort of partnershiping with the merchants, different angles. some into logistics, some into customer experiences, some into different other things. And I think yesterday, one of the AI-based solutions that help merchants to write down a description of their products when they're building the catalog was launched. So it was like you just put a couple of tags and it builds the content for you explaining what this product is.
Amazing.
In early 2020, before COVID, I think 2019, we did build an enablement of the platform to actually to present and show an outcome of any AR-based products. So if you are selling some furniture or something and you have a room, you want to see how this furniture will be look like. So you just enable the cam within the store, and you click the product and the cam will appear and the product will be showing into your atmosphere. That was actually years back already in the platform, which is still going on. The other part of this, like AR-based, which is building the content of the AR based on very simple pictures, is not there yet. So this could be an opportunity for developers to build something where they can help this to create something on going toward the metaverse, e-commerce, whatever things. So these still we are talking about the product level expansion, and different other angles are there. We maybe 6 months back we launched our front end. We can call it front end theme builder, where not only themes and appearance which can be built by front-end developers, even a different user experience could be introduced using this platform. So it's not only theming level, it's more deep. You can change the whole process, the user experience, the customer experience you would like to provide as a merchant. So this was again going around the product, and yet we would like to have some sort of a little bit test about expanding our services abroad geographically. So maybe this year could be a good test for us to go out. We would like to test a similar culture or close to their cultures. So we most probably, if we go abroad geographically, we will go to some of the GCC countries, like we have Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. So one of these, or maybe bunch of them, maybe all of them, we don't know yet. It's there in the growth departments, 3 or 4 departments within Salla. They are running some researches around these markets. So this will be about the geographical expansion. While into the services and partnershiping vertically, horizontally going around, we are trying to keep ourselves into the focus, the extreme focus of being a tech company. And we try to carry on being a tech company. So we are doing our best to not going after any operational level expansion, and getting involved into different aspects of the e-commerce. We probably not go there. We will remain into the tech area.
I think for me, what's really important here is when you mentioned the point of, where you've enabled other developers to come in and create their own apps. And then you mentioned about having an AR feature in the past as well. And then now moving towards the AI feature that was being tested out yesterday. I think for me, that speaks volumes of the innovation within the platform that you created, and the risk-taking attitude as well that comes along with it. Because I think with founders, what normally happens is that, especially after, I think, 7 years, 6 years, or 5 years, they start, moving towards things that have worked before. They are not really willing to take too many risks. They're just want to double down on what has been working. So this is really commendable from what I understand so far. So thank you.
In actually 2021, I did face this thing, what you have mentioned. So I have became like an employee where and previously I had maybe 14 years of experience in a governmental job before I resigned and switched to purely into entrepreneurial life. So I knew that feeling already. So in most of the 2020, I was like into coming to the office, completing some processes, signing some papers, finishing some unfinished documentation requirements, and the innovation became very low. And I sit with my co-founder Nawaf Hariri, and he was the CEO of the company. I was the COO, operation officer. So I sit with him. I told him the innovation is getting away from me, and I don't feel like I co-founded an entity where I will do a job. So I don't want a job. I want to be into the innovation side. And we decided to go out and establish a research and innovation center where our activities will be more into considering the future techs and the challenges that are there into the ecosystem, where solving these challenges is not into the direct development of a feature or a solution within the platform of Salla, but it requires more depth, it requires more researches and actually help from academia and adding real challenges, taking them to the atmosphere of a researcher lifestyle, and then trying to dig deep into the problem, getting out few formulas, knowledge economy outcomes, either into papers to be published and patents to be registered and maybe other things, and then seeking some revenue later on from either merchandising them or licensing them or whatever, monetizing them, or maybe even starting or establishing other startups in the future based on these outcomes. And at late 2021, we established this center, and I'm heading of this center. I'm Chief Research and Innovation now in Salla. We have 4 papers already came out from our research center. 2 of them are published, one at IEEE, one at Tier 1 journal, and one is under process and of being published. We had some editing going on, and the 4th one is actually under completion. So and there is 2 or 3 patentabilities already available on the table. We're trying to assign budget for them to be gone into the knowledge economy registration. So yeah, this was actually happening. That I personally, because I have been heading the operations since day one, and Nawaf was very focused into the tech side completely. Maybe after a while, from being 4 or 5. So since we became like 10 or 15, I was switched more into business, taking care of the business, legal and finance issues, these things. And then we created a lot of innovations into these areas, into operation, into completeness and automation, whatever. And then, as I told you, ended up doing job, and then I switched into innovation. So I became again into wake up in the morning and thinking about what of the new challenges I will be like discussing today with the team, and trying to build a research scheme out of it, and then try to acquire a team of researchers who will be working on this challenge and taking them to the knowledge economy side.
Thank you for sharing that, Salman. It's actually really inspiring to honestly just hear about the journey so far. And I think, you know, when writers have this writer's block, I feel like founders also have their innovation block from time to time. So it's really good that you were able to, you know, tackle that in your own way. And Salla is now much stronger than ever because of that, you know, innovation sprint that you go back to every now and then as a founder. So it's commendable. I think one more question that I have in regards to the innovation aspect is regarding the startup ecosystem in Saudi Arabia in general. Because from the outside right now, I feel like there's a lot, you know, that's being talked about. There's a lot that's happening regarding the investments, regarding, you know, the conferences, regarding events. It's the market to be in right now, you know, whether as a VC, whether as a startup founder, whether as someone who wants to maybe, you know, dabble and see, you know, the potential in the market itself. If I can share some numbers for people who might not be aware of it. So, for example, in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of Saudi investments go into some of the biggest companies as well, such as Amazon, Visa, Disney, Google. And in venture capital investments in Saudi Arabia, on the contrary, have grown by 72% in 2022, which is massive. So I think I just want to understand, as someone who is from within the ecosystem, like how has that change been for you from the inside? Compared to what we see on the outside.
As I told you, my first experience was in 2010.
Yep.
And I didn't know actually where to go to collect money. So I went to family and friends. And I didn't know that actually it's part of the ecosystem, or it will become part of the ecosystem in the very near future. And I was just looking for some financial support to build a concept which I had to test into the Hajj ecosystem because I was in Mecca. And I was tackling a problem since I was in my childhood. And then when I designed myself that my life will be around the technology, and I went around globally and acquired plenty licenses, certifications. I became a professional technical person. And this problem I see every year into Hajj and season of 4 months every year. And I established this startup. And there were no doors to knock at that time. You don't know where to go actually, or what to do next, how to get support, how to ask for enablement from the government, how to go through a pre-old traditional level of getting license or getting a registration or any commercial papers. And instead of doing that, actually, I want to test the idea before. I want to see if the market will accept it or not.
Yep.
I want to see if the government will be allowing me on some sort of like what's so-called now a sandbox atmosphere where I can go outside of the well-known boundaries and test the ideas there. So these all things were not there. It started with the sandbox of launching the Saudi fintech and the sandbox of Sama, that our central bank scheme. And actually this opened the mindsets of other ministries.
Wow.
So now we have sandbox into health, sandbox into other techs also, like I think logistic, and I think the thing which is there, the idea of building an atmosphere, making it available for entrepreneurs to test their newly born ideas and trying to evolve with the new techs into the ecosystem of whatever the thing they are heading. Either it's a logistic, or it's a payment, or it's a fintech, or biotech, or whatever, medical tech, or even prop techs and other technologies. So this whole thing started with the spark of the sandbox of our fintech platform. And so when we look at the journey at that time, so there was like maybe 1 or 2 events a year that are related to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Since maybe till late 2017 or something. And there were not much of events, and most of the speakers or people who appears into these events are actually, most of them coming again and again.
Yeah.
And the general attendees actually were looking for new varieties, new speakers. We want something else. They were asking for like global experience to be shared with them. And I think that's where the government and semi-government entities played a major role into bringing these things, bridging the whatever the links required into the ecosystem. One of the major things happened to actually make the ecosystem to become into the format that's it's there now, is providing the money in different varieties and different angles through different channels. So I believe a program that launched by the Saudi venture company, the SVC,
right,
which is some sort of fund of funds. So they launched their early scheme to match whatever investment goes with any angel investor. So any angel investor who invests with a startup, they match the same investment with this into the same startup and share the risk of the early stage investments with angel investors. And then they became to supporting even VCs, not only the angel investors. So SVC was the fund of the funds, or a format of fund of funds.
Yep.
And then after maybe 3 years of experience with SVC and learning a lot from the ecosystem and whatever they were trying to practice to the market, the government and PIF became to establish JADA, which was the fund of funds for later stage VCs and investments. So the startups started getting support from ideas to building MVPs and taking to next stage like seed rounds, and then other VCs taking them from that level to next level to round after post-seed, round A, and then round B. And then the ecosystem required other investors here. International investments became in a major role, and VCs of later on, plus the fund of funds, started working into bridging them to bring them softly landed into the ecosystem. So that was from the investment side. And then plenty of programs established, like the garage, like the co-working spaces concepts, and the support that available in the co-working space from the government. Like whenever, if you are a licensed co-working space and you have like 50 plus tables that where 50 plus startups could come, you will get a support of maybe something around 1,000 to 1,500 Saudi Riyals per month on each table, which is acquired by an entrepreneur, and such supports into this whole ecosystem. And I think with this, the events started building their own ecosystem. So like there was networking, introductory, and different sort of platform linking each vertical to others and trying to be introduced into the ecosystem by using these events, getting them everybody who is involved into ecosystem, or who would like to be involved into ecosystem, or who is thinking of being into entrepreneurial ecosystem to join and to come and join these sort of events and get understanding of what's there, what's going on. Either you are from the money side, you would like to invest, or you are from the uh, youth side who have some, what we call it, out of the box ideas, would like to test. So, and these things became like joining each other and trying to build what we call the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I think lots of components are already there, even though we don't feel like we had enough of them yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we are still going on to adding more components and enhancing some specific components, adding more players into each vertical, into these components.
That's amazing, because I think from what I hear so far, the three main components that you mentioned, right? One is the capital, and it's amazing that the government is supporting it. The two is the link and the networking opportunities that are coming up, right? For example, LEAP is pretty much now the world's biggest tech conference. It's taken over any other conference that, most of the people were used to run after every year. And it's amazing to see that it's happening in Saudi Arabia right now. And then the third, of course, which is the most important in my eyes, is having that sandbox sort of, like room for experimentation, room for trial and error. Like it's okay to fail, having that sort of a mindset. I think it's amazing to have these three main components, but I think one more component that I would really want to touch on is the knowledge aspect. And you are on the advisory board of a really big, one of the universities in Saudi Arabia. So I really want to understand, like, how is academia being linked in terms of knowledge sharing, in terms of teaching people entrepreneurship in universities, in schools, to men and women both? How has that been so far in Saudi Arabia?
Actually, Vision 2030 was built on building blocks of the what we can call the modern economy.
Right.
So that's functioning. That now the whole ecosystem, even entrepreneurial and non-entrepreneurial, the economical built up is actually trying to go through these different channels toward the modern economy. That will be not focused onto the gas and oil, which was the previous economy of Saudi Arabia. So where this research could come into like handy and into benefit of this thing, I think it's a well-known by the rulers and regulators that now we are actually we tried to convert the economy since 2016, maybe the year where we announced our vision in 2030. And then now after maybe 6 or 7 years, we are seems like to having like a moving toward this modern economy. So maybe a few months back, our government announced an entity or an association called the RDI, Research, Development and Innovation. In Arabic, it's called Hayat al-Abhath wal-Tatwir wal-Ibtikar. So this entity is responsible about adding this component, as you have asked. So actually giving the academia more what we call freedom on contributing into the ecosystem in either like backing up the concepts of any startup, or even though building their own startups, being part of being a foundership of any research based or in purely innovation academia based startup, if they could achieve that model. And also this association will be, I believe, will be in charge of launching Vision 2040, which will be most probably the thing will be going out within a couple of years.
Right.
So I believe in 2025 or 2026, we will be having this vision very clear and launched and announced. And I believe we will start getting out the fruits of this vision sooner than what we had in 2016 as Vision 2030. And lots of other things are actually going on around this ecosystem. And because I was one of the early stage wings getting out of Salla, actually, or still linked to Salla, but working or operating separately somehow, with a little bit freedom of spending some money into like research and innovation. And so we have been very close into talking to and actually softly and socially integrating with this entity and understanding what's going on into RDI concept. I believe you have tackled very, very, very great component of any ecosystem where innovation must play a main and one of the major roles into developing any future techs we will need. So awesome. Yeah, we are going there.
Amazing. I think I'm coming towards my last two questions, considering the time as well. It's been an amazing conversation so far. Super, like full of insights, super full of learnings, and very inspirational. So thank you so much for sharing the journey so far. I think what I would really want to know more about now, since we're talking about the academia, and then anybody who goes into the academia comes out straight into the job market. So I would really want to know more about the tech talent and the job market in Saudi Arabia right now, and how is it more entrepreneurial right now, considering there's more startups in Saudi Arabia right now. Also, there's a lot of international sort of diaspora, the communities in Saudi Arabia. So how is the government or how are startups within the ecosystem building that bridge between, like nurturing this talent that they have in Saudi Arabia?
I'm not very much into this component, but what I can read into is that general decisions that the government makes.
Yep.
I can give you some insights from my personal reviews, even though I'm not an expert person into this area. So I think one of the things that the changing of the title of Ministry of Labor into Ministry of HR. So that was one of the major changes into the ecosystem. I believe earlier, before we got like having the concept of transformation or digital transformation, at early stages, we had a government level plan and an entity which was reporting to the king directly called, I believe it was called Yassir. So that entity was actually trying to build some concept of digital transformation at very, very early, before 2010. They were trying to build the concept within government organizations. At that stage, I was doing my master's at that time, and I had gone through different experiences in different other countries, how they build this conversion or transformation from non-digital to digital economy. I have gone through some documents where they were saying their experience built over changing the title. So they changed a title of a process from being a process of doing some function into a service of achieving that function. So just changing the title usually changes the mindsets of the people. And for like, just you change the title, let the people embrace the new title, get a concept of the new title, and the mindsets will change. And I think after 4 or 5 years of this entity's experience resulted into the same thing. So when they changed the processes names into services. The services became very easy to become into digital service.
Right. Yep.
But the process to become into digital service requires lots of hustle and process alignments, legalities, and lots of fixing the things. But whenever you name it as a service, it becomes very easy to convert the service into digital format. That's where we generated plenty of governmental level services into digital economy. So now any person in Saudi Arabia can do plenty of things while staying at home. I think changing the name of a major ministry like Ministry of Labor from Ministry of Labor into Ministry of HR, that could play a very major role into getting the caliber and taking care of whatever caliber we have, whatever what we call skill level abilities we have into our either graduates, postgraduates, fresh graduates, even though high school graduates who are willing to go into practical jobs or so on, getting some practical diplomas instead of going to academia. So all angles will be looking at a mankind as a resource where we can utilize. So this thing could lead into plenty of changes, I believe. It just need time. So it's a matter of time that this changing the name of this ministry into Ministry of HR could lead into plenty growth, into the shift of the mindsets and adopting whatever skills we have and fitting or putting those skills into where they fit into the ecosystem or social economy.
For sure. Wow. No, that's amazing. In my head, the only thing that I can relate this to is, when a startup goes through a rebrand and it also changes the mindset of the employees.
Yes,
and users, so
exactly.
It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And it's very hot topic in Salla because maybe 2 weeks back we launched our new brand. And we know how it's going on with the with the employees. Definitely. It's amazing point.
Amazing. But this brings me to my last question, which is, what is your advice to people in their 20s, since the Series is investing at 25? So we're talking about people in their 20s and how to help them, build their financial literacy, build their skill set, build their careers. You are someone who's had a stellar career, mashallah, and you're a founder of a company that's doing so much more for an economy like Saudi Arabia, which is massive, and it's growing year on year, like we mentioned earlier in the episode as well. I would really want to know, what is your advice for people who are graduating? Considering the market right now, people are also leaving, losing their jobs. So I would really want to understand, what is your advice for people to get started?
Well, actually, it's very difficult to give very general advice. I don't feel myself into such position, but I can provide one thing that it's related to my personal experience, which is actually I'm trying to build with also whoever around me, my younger brothers and sisters, and with also my kids. Two things that you can control yourself: that what knowledge you have and how massive is that knowledge, and what skill you have, and how depth the mastering of this skill you could lead yourself into. So these two things, they might not be looks like getting you toward jobs or whatever, startups or entrepreneur life, or going to become an investor into some area or something. But I think these are the bases. If you have these bases, you can build upon them plenty of things, including a career of a job or a startup concept or whatever. Once your skill sets are extraordinary and you read a lot to more into very specific area and add some general knowledge from other areas, but you actually focusing on reading one specific area where your skill actually is matched with that thing. So I think these two things combined could make you a useful mankind. in different angles, different scenarios. So don't hunt for what's there in the jobs in the future.
Yep.
Don't try to acquire a knowledge where you don't feel yourself passionate about. So the knowledge and the skills, try to match them and taking them personally, not taking them to the market aspect. So once you take them personally, you can achieve lots of things that are not achievable by other people who are not passionate about it. So if every one of us is actually knowing what he like or he would be passionate about and acquiring knowledge about this passion and then converting this knowledge into practices and building some skills around it, everything else will follow. The job will follow, the startups will follow, and definitely the quality of life will follow.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you on the show and
Thank you,
talk
Zana.
about your journey. Mashallah, honestly, very inspiring for me as well. And yeah, support system for Salla always from my side.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you for
amazing
that.
what you're doing. Thank you so much for giving me your
Amazing,
time.
Zana.